If a year is a really short period of time, what would you say is, how long does it typically take to do a work, whether it's for yourself or for commission?
I'm used to working life scale, which is what I generally would do until I started doing those equestrian monuments. And now sometimes I make things that are a little bigger than life. I used to have a kind of sense that I made 6 new pieces a year, completely finished. Now I'm doing, a single piece may have 3 figures in it, so. But let's say 6 human figures a year, for sure. Because it's not so much that making them takes that long, but getting them right. It's the thinking time that takes really longer. Commissions have all these ridiculous, arbitrary deadlines that always seem completely wrong to the creative process to me, but you go with it. Usually it's like, you get the thing on an email that says, public project, deadline 2 weeks, first maquette deadline 2 weeks from now. Oh, thank you very much. And then usually it'll be like 6 months where they're deciding something, and you don't know what's going on. And then you get an email saying, okay, 1 month from now you have to have the life-size model, or it's like, it's ridiculous, but you just have to negotiate constantly. You kind of have to have different things going on all the time, at once. Sometimes I back away from that when I feel like just creatively I just need more quiet development time where I can't be answering people's deadlines. I definitely work more slowly now. Partly I'm more thoughtful, which gets in the way. Partly I'm more aware. When I do something, and I just, I'll suddenly come in one day and say, that doesn't look anything like what I was trying to do. Was that okay? Do I want to go with that, or do I want to just put that aside and start over and try and do what I was thinking of? Whereas I used to just like, go with it, go with it, go with it. And I think the work is deeper now, emotionally deeper. I think that's also age, just appreciate things in a different way. Now, I have barely done any commissions when I was here before, and now I have tackled many more of them. And I have just so much more greater admiration, and because I have so much greater understanding of what it took to make the Lincoln, not to mention all the other projects, but just that, to build a building and then build that monumental size, and knowing that it was also government, and what the committee meetings would have been like, and the kind of patience, the kind of diplomacy. I just had no conception of that before, and so then I become more interested in French as a man, and I start thinking of what kind of personality. So then it becomes interesting to me that there's no, unlike many other artists, there's no real scandal. There's, clearly he was a very modest man, and in many ways if it wasn't for his daughter, the fact that everyone knows the Lincoln and nobody knows who did it would have been more so if it wasn't for his daughter, who was clearly more of a go-getter in terms of protecting his legacy.
He would have been happy for the work to speak for himself, rather than the legacy of words. I think the monument is the artist and the man.
It just continues to be, everybody wants it as their centerpiece. Good and bad, controversial and not, and I think that will always be its history, because it's probably the most powerful work in the
Agree.
Well, one of the things I've always thought was interesting in working with the figures sculpturally is, and in life scale, is that, one-to-one, like you're standing in a room with this other character, this other presence, and that that people are sometimes just drawn to it just for that, without even knowing, what does it mean, or who is it, or, I always thought that's one of the powers that you possibly have, which is one of the reasons I have worked more scale. And also it's the, you can also use it like looking in the mirror, as a psychological exploration. There's lots of intimate sculpture, actually, in the history of sculpture. And in the 20th century, I think some of my favorites, Medardo Rosso, I don't know if you know that work. It's, they're busts, and they're slightly smaller than life, and they're made in plaster, and they're tender subjects like mother and child, or rather than portraiture, there'll be a kind of emotional expression. And then the plaster is covered with beeswax, so it has this feeling like skin, like tactile, a warm, soft texture. You're not allowed to touch them in museums, but there's that sense that, and that's how that artist, who was interested in these tender personal moments, brought a material to enhance that idea. So, as opposed to, say, if you think of Richard Serra, and I mean, they've built factories to make those Richard Serra pieces, to curve that Port-10 steel. So it's the same. I mean, he wants that. He wants that massive, monumental, overwhelming, overpowering form. Another artist wants something else. You have to find the material that communicates what you're thinking about. But what the sculpture is about comes from the artist. That's what they're interested in. That's what they're trying to tell. The story they're trying to tell.